Sup guys, it's Alex here, and welcome to the November 18th. I'm going to say the 18th. This came out on the 15th, but I've been busy all weekend doing random crap. But it is now the 18th when I'll be publishing this video and when I'm making the video, as you can see right there. But welcome to another Bracketology update. This one is after the inexplicable loss by Kentucky to Evansville. As you guys know, if you've been following along with my channel, you know that I am a Kentucky Wildcats fan. Go Big Blue, but we played like poo last week against Evansville, losing at home as the #1 team to Evansville. I don't know what happened. We just didn't play with any energy whatsoever. I know I've gotten roasted in the comment section from the last video, and I'm sure there's going to be some nice snide comments in this video, but you know what? We got to take it in stride. We deserve all those comments. We did not play well at all, and we ended up falling to #9. Honestly, I thought we'd fall even further in the rankings, but I guess the voters still have a little bit of confidence in us after beating Michigan State. And I mean, it's the first game of the year that we are one of the youngest teams in the nation, as always, and I think we'll be able to turn the season around. But without any further ado, enough talking about the Kentucky Wildcats. We're just going to kind of go region by region here. And by the way, Louisville ended up taking the #1 seed away from Kentucky, as you can see right there, but they'll still meet up in Indianapolis, so we'll kind of see what happens there. Tennessee moves up to an 8, Michigan, after beating Washington, Michigan down to a 9, Texas up to a 5, Villanova down to a 4, VCU down to a 6, even after beating LSU. I think they had lost to somebody earlier in the week. And Penn State is new to the field. Oregon is up to a 3 after beating Memphis. Notre Dame is up to a 10. Ohio State is now up to a 2 after, I think they had beaten Villanova. Then over here, as I mentioned earlier, we got Louisville as the 1. LSU is down to an 8 after losing to VCU. Oklahoma is new to the field. Washington is now up to a 5. Harvard is now down to a 12. Northern Iowa is new to the field. Oklahoma State's new to the field. Maryland is now down to a 3. Ohio State ended up taking their spot on the 2 line, as you can see right there. Colorado down to a 7. NC State down to a 10. And then Kentucky, as you can see, fell to a 2. Then we will go over to the West Regional. We got Kansas remaining a 1. St. Mary's fell from a 5 seed to an 8 seed after their loss at, I think it was to Winthrop at home, which is really bad. I say that as a Kentucky fan. Then Liberty moves up to a 12. Arizona is up to a 4, almost at Oregon. New Mexico State is down to a 13. Purdue is up to a 6. They would play the winner of Creighton and West Virginia in the play-in game. UC Irvine's down to a 14. Virginia is now up to a 2. Then over here we got Michigan State remaining a 1. Providence is down to a 9. Baylor is down to a 5. Florida is down to a 4. Marquette is up to a 6. Then the play-in game there, as you can see, would be between Arkansas and Dayton. Texas Tech is now up to a 3, and then Toledo remains at 14, and then Colgate is down to a 15. Then I'll go and kind of show you guys the little bubble situation right here. I mean, it's super early in the season. Wisconsin, Illinois, Oklahoma State, and Penn State are the last 4 byes. Last 4 in the playing games, as I mentioned earlier, Creighton, West Virginia, Dayton, and Arkansas. First 4 out are Butler, Indiana, Kansas State, Missouri. Then the next 4 out are Mississippi State, San Diego State, Iowa State, and then USC. So as you guys know, in the past couple bracketology videos I've been doing, I have an Excel spreadsheet to do the bracketologies on. I know Brackify had gotten shut down. Still haven't had enough time with my final semester of college and work going on to see if there's any more viable options, sort of like Brackify, where I can show the logos and still do like the bracket voting and stuff. But I'll be researching that once this semester ends and all that. But for right now, we got this bracket, Excel bracket going on. And let's go ahead and move to this West Regional over here. We have Duke and Rider. Obviously, I'm going to have Duke winning that matchup there. Then we got Tennessee versus Michigan. I'm honestly going to go with Tennessee. I think last week I would have gone with Michigan, but Tennessee performed pretty well against Washington. I actually expected Washington to win that game going into it, so I was impressed with Tennessee being able to win that one. Then I think that Texas will beat Vermont. Villanova, I think, will beat Belmont. Then we got VCU. I think that they'll be able to beat Penn State, but that one could be an easy upset pick right there. Then we got Oregon beating South Dakota. Florida State, I think, loses to Notre Dame here. Florida State has just been a weird team. They lost at home to, a really bad Pittsburgh team. Then they went on the road and beat Florida. Then they came back home and almost lost to, like, Western Carolina. So, I mean, I don't have no clue what to think of them right now. Then we got Ohio State beating Northeastern. Then down here we got Kansas versus Sam Houston State. Obviously, you got to go with Kansas in that matchup right there. Then Cincinnati versus St. Mary's. I'm going to go with Cincinnati here with Jerron Cumberland. I think that they're going to be able to get that dub. Then Memphis, I think, will be able to beat Liberty. I know Liberty got a first-round upset last year over Mississippi State, and then Wiseman might not even be playing by the time the tournament comes around. But for right now, I'm assuming he'll probably be back because I think they're going to be able to sort out this ineligibility issue here shortly. Then Arizona and New Mexico State. as much as I want to go with an upset pick there with New Mexico State, got to keep it with Arizona, the 4 seed. Then I think Purdue will beat the winner of Creighton and West Virginia, which honestly I have no clue who that would be at this point in time. Gonzaga, I think, will beat UC Irvine. Then I'm going to go with Wisconsin beating Utah State. I know I trashed Wisconsin in the last video. I don't know if they'll be able to end up in the tournament, but they impressed me. I think it was against Marquette that they ended up beating by like 15 or something like that. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that happened over the course of the weekend, so that impressed me pretty good. Then Virginia would beat Radford. Then we're going to go up here to the top right regional, Louisville and the winner of Montana and Texas Southern. Obviously, you got to go with Louisville there. Then I think LSU will beat Oklahoma. Washington, I think, will beat Harvard. I know I'm not going with too many upset picks here. Then we got Miles Powell and Seton Hall beating Northern Iowa. Xavier and Oklahoma State. I'm actually going to go with Oklahoma State there. I'm not too sure. I haven't seen either of those two teams play, but you got to throw an upset pick in there, and I'm sure I'll learn more about Xavier as the season goes on. Then Maryland will beat Wright State. Colorado, I think will lose to NC State. I think they get the victory there, and then we'll face Kentucky in the next round. Then we move down to the final regional right here. We got Michigan State beating the winner of Norfolk State and St. Francis. Houston, I think, will beat Providence. Then we got Baylor beating East Tennessee State. Florida beating Western Kentucky, which I think... Actually, no, I'm going to go with Western Kentucky beating Florida. Because, you know what? I was right about Florida. At the beginning of the season, they were a 1 seed, and I said, there's no way they're going to end up being a 1 seed. They were like a top 5 team, and look at that. Now they're out of the top 25, a 4 seed after having a horrible start to the season. I'm pretty proud of myself for that prediction. Then we got Marquette beating the winner of Arkansas and Dayton, which I think will probably end up being Arkansas. Then we got Auburn versus Illinois, which I think will be Illinois. Then we got North Carolina beating Colgate. Once I can get it to go. This is being bad. There we go. So then back up to the top here, we have Duke versus Tennessee. Obviously, I'm going to go with the 1 seed there with Duke. Actually, I'm going to go with the blank spot there. We got Duke beating Tennessee, Villanova and Texas. That one will end up being a pretty good game. They're going to go with the more experienced coach in that sort of situation with Villanova moving on there. Oregon and VCU, I'm going to go with the talent of Dana Altman's Oregon Ducks there, and then Ohio State and Notre Dame. If that was a football matchup, that would be huge. But here it's basketball, and then, Oregon and Ohio State would be pretty huge in football too. Kansas and Cincinnati, I got to go with Kansas moving on there, and then Memphis and Arizona. I think that Arizona is actually going to beat Memphis. I think their youth is going to get them into trouble there against Arizona, and I think they're able to get the victory. Then Gonzaga, they're always a threat in March Madness. I think that they move on past Purdue, and then Virginia will be able to beat Wisconsin. Then moving up here to the right side of the bracket, we have Louisville beating LSU to move on to the Sweet 16. Seton Hall with Miles Powell moving on past Washington. Then Maryland, I think, with Bruno Fernando and Anthony Cohen will be able to move on past. I actually don't know if Bruno Fernando is still there. I know Anthony Cohen is. They're going to be able to move on past Oklahoma State, and then Kentucky will be NC State. Michigan State, I think, will be able to move on past Houston. I'm going to go with another upset pick here. I'm moving on Western Kentucky with Charles Bazzi to the Sweet 16. You know, we got to get a Cinderella story moving on in there. Then I didn't pick a winner between Texas Tech and Toledo, which would be obviously Texas Tech. Then, actually, it won't be Texas Tech. It'll be the freaking blank spot. Then Marquette, I think, with Marcus Howard, will be able to move on as the 6th seed over Texas Tech right there. And then North Carolina, we'll get some fits from Illinois, but I think they'll be able to move on there. Then for a spot in the Elite Eight, Duke versus Villanova. This is a great matchup of two really good college basketball programs, but I got to go with Duke moving on there. Then Oregon and Ohio State. I'm actually going to go with Oregon here, the 3 seed. Moving on to the Elite Eight, Kansas and Arizona. I'm going to go with Kansas over Sean Miller. Then we got Gonzaga and Virginia. As much as I like Virginia this year, I know they have a lot of turnover. This is going to be a defensive battle between Mark Few and Tony Bennett, but I got to go with Gonzaga there as the 3 seed. Then up here we have Louisville versus Seton Hall. I'd love to see Miles Powell beat Louisville, but Louisville just has too much talent and their own Player of the Year candidate in Jordan Nora. And then we got Kentucky end up beating Maryland. I think they'll be able to get that program in the right state before March Madness comes around. Michigan State and Western Kentucky, as much as I'd love to move Western Kentucky on past there, I think obviously that Michigan State's going to end up winning that battle. Then Marquette and North Carolina, you got to go with potentially the National Player of the Year here with Cole Anthony and North Carolina. And then for a spot in the Final Four, Duke versus Oregon. I'm actually going to go with an upset pick here. I'm going to go with Oregon, though easily I know that's going to upset a lot of the Duke fans that end up watching this. I'm going to go with Oregon there. They're a more experienced team. I think they're a more complete team. Duke recently has been getting some troubles before making it to the Final Four in the NCAA tournament. I mean, they lost to South Carolina 2 years ago and then Michigan State in the Elite Eight last year. I think they lose again. Then we got Kansas versus Gonzaga. I'm actually going to go with Kansas right here with Azubike and a lot of returning players. I think Kansas's experience is going to do good as long as they stop playing with the two big men down low. I think that gave them fits against Duke. And if they can get that issue sorted out, I think they'll be a Final Four team. Then Louisville and Kentucky, as much as I want to go with my Big Blue Nation Kentucky Wildcats, with the way they're playing right now, we'll see whenever those two teams face off at the end of December. But right now, you just got to go with the number 2 team in the nation, the better team, Louisville. Then Michigan State and North Carolina, those two teams always seem to find each other in the NCAA tournament and be pretty good. I am going to go with North Carolina, the 2 seed, moving on to the Final Four. So then we have in this regional Oregon versus Kansas. I'm actually going to go with Kansas winning that matchup as much as I want to go with Oregon continuing their, I'd say, Cinderella run as a program that's not known too much for their basketball prowess. Then Louisville and North Carolina battle the ACC teams. I'm actually going to go with North Carolina. Moving on with Cole Anthony, I think Roy Williams gets his team to the national championship game. Chris Mack for getting Louisville to the Final Four in his second season, that's a huge accomplishment as a 1 seed. But I got to go with the 1 seed Kansas versus the 2 seed North Carolina in the national championship game. And right now, I'm going to go with North Carolina actually winning it all with Cole Anthony, which is kind of a surprise. I think they're like end of the top 20 or up end of the top 5. I'm not too sure, but I know they're not getting a whole lot of national recognition right now as like a national championship contender. I think they win with the current structure of the bracket. So thank you guys for watching. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. I've been kind of out of breath because I got to get to class here in the next couple minutes. But thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. Be sure to leave a like and subscribe if you are new. Leave a comment on what you think about your own predictions and just the Kentucky loss in general and just college basketball in general. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you all later.